Brett Perigo, tonight's second place finisher. Plenty of fans here, Brett, and a solid second place finish.
Yeah, I got to shout out the Turn 2 Terribles over there. They're all a bunch of good guys to hang out with, talk to. I really like them.
How are you doing tonight, man?
Hey, I'm talking here. You know who you're talking to? Macho Man! I'm on my way to Monday Night Raw.
How I want to answer the second one.
Your choice.
It's a trap.
I feel like it is. I feel like he's setting up fights in the front stretch is what he's trying to do.
Port Royal Speedway. We've got Devin Borden with us.
At Keen Motorsports Shop here with Kyle Keen.
Sitting here with Sean Keen. We're going to talk a little bit about racing history.
Yep.
What's up? What's up? Monday, May 20th, 2024. We are the Turn 2 Terribles. What's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in on this lovely, beautiful Monday evening. We got a lot to talk about this week. We got Austin Bishop on the show. We're going to talk to him. He got his first 410 win here at Selinsgrove, but not that long ago. He had a good run at Port Royal this weekend, which we're going to talk a lot about that because he got Weikert Memorial coming up this upcoming weekend. We'll be talking about that and much more, everything else from this past week and what's coming up. So, gentlemen, Jeremy, Chris, how are you guys doing?
Very good, man. Ready to get going here today. Excited for the show. We got a lot to go over.
Yeah, we do. We got a lot to go over. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Brad, Randy, Matt, I see you guys in the comments. Thanks for tuning in. As always, you guys are amazing. Just want to, before we bring Austin on, just want to say this episode of Turn 2 Terribles is brought to you by Gutshaw's Automotive. Everything for your automotive needs. They are located in Middletown, 632 South Catherine Street. Give them a call for an appointment for anything you need with, inspections, any type of repairs, the oil changes, all that type of stuff. Anything that you need, 717-944-6888. That's 717-944-6888. Gutshaw's Automotive. All right, so let's not delay any longer. Let's get right into it. Let's bring on Austin Bishop. Austin, thank you so much for joining us tonight. How are you?
Good. Thank you guys for having me.
Hey, man. Welcome back. Another two-time guest, right? We're racking them up here, I think, right? So we had you in last year, right? You came on before?
Yeah, I think it was about this time last year, maybe a little earlier. I can't
Pretty
remember.
similar. Yeah, I think last year, kind of like this year, slowed down a little bit. Everybody has shop nights, depending on how much shit they tore up over the weekend and, how much work do they have to do for next week. So, man, I know we got a little bit of your background last year, and there may be some new fans this year. So, an abbreviated version, but tell everybody a little bit about your history coming up in racing, and talk about how your 2024 is going.
Pretty much, we started in the quarter midgets, micros. Then we jumped to 305s, and eventually now we're in the 410s. So, raced pretty much everything in between. every kind of micro you can imagine, really. 125s, 270s, 600s, XL modifieds, the whole 9 yards, really. So it's kind of nice to be able to jump around, and try different things out.
So I want to actually get in. I'm gonna get into that for real quick. You kind of did everything going. You've been into 410 pretty exclusively. Is there a kind of a different kind of car you'd love to drive someday, or whether it be one race or try it for a handful? Is there something else that you have your eye on you'd like to do someday?
I mean, honestly, I'm trying to focus on the sprint car now. But me and my dad have always talked about racing late models or even a modified. And I ran wingless sprint cars, and that was a little different. I only did it twice or 3 times, but anything that has a wheel, I'll race. So
Give it a shot.
But we're just kind of I'd like to focus on the 410 for a while.
Fair enough. Tell us a little bit about how your season's going so far. I have some stats in front of me. I know Jimmy compiled a couple things we were talking about a little bit, but give us your view of how the season's going. I can tell you my observation, but tell us how you think your season's going so far.
I mean, I've been real happy with the season. I feel like there's been a lot of unfortunate events. Like it seems like when we're fast, and that's like, we got to overcome a lot too. So it's just bugs that you got to work out here and there. Growing pains. But I mean, overall, I've been really happy with the season. We've been passing cars, putting together some solid runs, and it's just kind of getting better in the beginning of the night. That's where we're putting our focus, You get good in the beginning of the night, put yourself in a good position for the end of the night, and you're going to have good results. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
And we have so many time trial shows around here now. It feels like that's becoming more and more of a thing, whether it's the timed hot laps at BAPS, just time trial shows in general. I feel like you always got into like time trial season when we got into like July, August, September. But I feel like we're getting time trials earlier and earlier in the year more often. I mean, am I crazy, or do you think that's sort of kind of the way things are trending?
Yeah, I think they're trending towards that a lot. And I mean, honestly, I like it. And if, you're from Central PA and you don't like it, it's the only thing that's going to prepare you for the outlaw and the high limit guys coming in. You know what I mean? Obviously, it's something that Central PA guys struggle with when they come in. So, might as well focus on it. Might as well start doing it more. And I like it because it's like, it's as good as what you're going to be. You know what I mean? It's not like luck or anything. Like you put yourself in a good position or you put yourself in a bad position based on your laps. So, that's how I see it. And that's how I feel about it. If I go out there and bust out a bad lap, I feel bad, but you know what? It was me that did it, instead of pulling a pill. So, I kind of like it.
So, I guess we'll just kind of get right into it, right? You got to win. You won a 410 race. Selinsgrove Speedway a couple weeks ago. I mean, I don't know if you picked a good one or a bad one to get your first win, but holy hell, I heard that place was blazing fast. Of course, is the one Central PA race I didn't get to this year. You win the damn thing. So tell us a little bit about that day, man. Tell us a little bit about that night. I briefly talked to you and you said, hey, I knew I had a pretty good car from like the first time on the racetrack that night, but tell us how all that went.
So, I mean, I always had a lot of confidence at Selinsgrove. Even last year we were fast there. I can't remember what race it was. We started 20. It was their big race last year. I guess it was
the Nace.
The Nace, yeah. We started like 22nd or something, and in 10 laps I was in 8th, and Mark Smith blew a right rear and collected me. I honestly thought we were going to end up in the top 3 that night. That was a 40-lap race, and we were rolling. We had good finishes there all last year, 8th, 7th, 6th. It just seemed like we were putting ourselves behind the 8 ball too soon, kind of going back to what I said about putting yourself in a good position for later on in the night. And, I had time trials and busted out a good lap, and it put me on the front row the rest of the night and made some good laps around there. So, I mean, like I said, when you're on the front row on a fast track and, you can make some good laps around there, it's it's easy to put together a good night.
So I think you kind of took off and were in second chasing TJ. So what's going through your mind and you're in second? You know you're better than him, or were you waiting for a mistake, or it was just like, hey, I ran him down, I'm taking my shot. How did you kind of set that up on a track that's pretty fast? And typically when it's fast, it's one lane that's very fast. So how did you make all that work?
Yeah, I really didn't have that good of a car in the beginning of the race. And I kind of told everybody that. I was struggling with the wing slider. For some reason, the wing kept trunking on me. It was almost all the way back on the first restart, and Devin had gotten past me, and I noticed it, and luckily we got that restart, and I rolled it back front. But if we never got that restart, I probably would have never seen it. You can't look up at your wing. Then once I rolled it back front, things got a lot better. It definitely helped that Devin had an issue, because he would have been hard to get past. I think we still had a good car. I think we would have still gotten past TJ, but I would have definitely had to work my ass off pretty good to get past Devin. He would have been a tough competition. So it would have been a good race. It would have been a good race
for sure. Well, and listen, I like Devin, but no knock on Devin. But his consistency this year has been something happening. So your odds were in your favor the way it seems to have gone lately. But at what point did you pass TJ in that race?
I think it was lap 12. Okay. I passed. Yep.
So it was probably 25 or 30 lap feature. So when you got past him, and did you have any idea where you were and who's behind you, how much of a lead you had? I mean, what goes through your head as you're leading that race, and is it everything that could go wrong? Just focusing on your marks and waiting for a checkered flag? How's that all processed?
Yeah. So pretty much as soon as I passed him, I knew we had a pretty good car. And I was kind of like, the first thing I thought about was just being conservative. It was a bad fast track, pretty much flat out the whole way. And we're burning through a lot of fuel. So just trying to be conservative. I knew the car was good. I actually started lifting pretty good towards the end of that race, just because I didn't want to run out of fuel. And I did run out of fuel. The last 2 laps, I started spinning and sputtering pretty good. If there was probably a red flag or another caution, we wouldn't have made it. I was hoping that maybe they would take a fuel stop or something, but we wouldn't have made another lap.
There was a lot of attrition in that race too. You know what I mean? There was like 10 cars left, and you were starting to lap them towards the end. But did that make you nervous at all, knowing how many cars were dropping out because of mechanical issues?
I think what helped us was early in the night after time trials, we were pretty close to burning up. And I told Charlie, we better check some plugs, make sure that the engine's good, because it was laying down coming off the corner during time trials. And he got on it pretty quick. We noticed that they were burning pretty good. So he just played the safe card and got it ready for the heat race. And we're pretty much ahead of that the whole night as far as engine problems go. We were pretty rich. So luckily we caught that early. If we didn't catch that, we might have been in the same boat as Danny. We might have ended up burning the piston down just because it was so fast and you're flat out. So,
yeah, and like Jimmy said, a lot of attrition that night. But at the end of the day, you get the win. So, I'm a little bit uneducated with the history of this 35 car. I didn't go to Port Royal a lot growing up, Selinsgrove a lot. I was, I'm a Southern area guy. So Baps, Lincoln, that was kind of my stomping ground. So what does it mean to you to win in that 35 car? That was actually, I think, one of the questions here in chat. What does that mean to you to get a win for Charlie and that team?
So it's kind of funny. Like, I never really had anybody that I grew up watching sprint cars with or anything. I didn't really root for anybody. I just kind of liked going and watching. I didn't watch a lot of 410 sprint car races when I was younger. I think my first 410 sprint car race I went to, I was 16 or 17. And then I jumped in, or maybe 15. And I jumped in a sprint car when I was 16. So, but I know when I went, the first person that caught my eye was Tyler Walker. And that's just the truth about it, you know. And I never, like I said, rooted for anybody, but I liked watching him race. And we got a picture together when I went to the track. And I show Charlie it all the time. He thinks it's cool, you know, because it's a picture of me and Tyler. But little, you know, just it's like a full circle moment. You know, I never would have thought I'd be in the same car that he drove. So just stuff like that. Pretty cool.
That's and I read an article today. Actually, I think you reposted or shared it on socials. You know, kind of talking about Charlie and how this team is still exists, right? Because of some of those things. So, can you tell the people that don't know? I don't know, Chris, Jimmy, did you see this article today by chance?
No, I didn't.
So, share Austin, if you could kind of, I'm sure you know it. If you don't, that's fine. I can pull it up. But tell us a little bit about that article that and the 35 car was close to not being around. Is that what I gathered from that?
Yeah. So Charlie lost his son. Charlie and Dawn, they lost their son about 2 years ago to pancreatic cancer. And he was a big part of the team. You know, he helped out a lot with them. I never got to meet him, and I wish I did. He sounds like a good guy. I'm sure we would have got along great. But I never got to meet him. You know, because I started racing their car in 2023. But and basically he just wanted to see the car on the track. You know, he didn't want the car to come off the track. They've been doing it for years. And it was his wish, you know, to keep the car on the track, keep it going. Basically, don't change. You guys love this. You know what I mean? So
it's awesome. I didn't know that story. Like I said, I don't know the history of that car a lot. I know it was around. I knew some of the drivers were in it, but I didn't really know any of that. That was pretty wild to read that, and very cool that the car's still around, that they still want to support the racing, and you know, kind of it's a memory of their son and us, you know, supporting their son's wishes. So that's pretty cool. How's that going in a relationship with Charlie and the team as far as ownership, right? Because you kind of, when you came on the scene in 410s, you were in your own deal. And then you kind of in 2023, you got tied in here with this. So how did that come about, and how's that kind of relationship building gone so far?
Oh, it's great. You know, those guys, they treat me great. I don't think anybody could treat me better than them, honestly. You know, I spend the weekend with them. We work on the car. And then we race as much as we can. You know, and we all get along good. Everybody on the crew. We have fun, we laugh, we joke, you know, so it's things like that really make a team good. You know what I mean? So, they do whatever we see we want done, or whatever we see we need. It seems like they're good for it. So, and that's what makes a good car owner, you know. The other thing is, like, you want to have good people around you, and that's what it is. So,
yeah. So I'm gonna Jimmy and Chris get some questions here, but a quick observation, right? And I told you, you're pretty positive about your season, and I told Jimmy, I kind of was like, you know, I think it's a mixed bag of results. I said, but I think it's been more good than bad, right? Because I got pretty close with your team a little bit last year and followed, and there was challenges throughout the season, right? There were some engine things, and then there was, you know, if we tore up a race car, didn't make some features, sort of the growing pains and learning, not only you being like still learning how to drive a 410 and race with the best in the country, but also with a new team and, you know, a new deal there, a new team for you. So I looked at that Selinsgrove race. You know, you had a top 10 at opening day at Williamsgrove. You had a 7th. You ran 10th at BAPS beginning of the season. And it was the results were a little bit mixed after that. There's, you know, somehow you finished 27th at Port Royal. I don't know how that happens. At least it says that. And then you get down here, you get a top 10 at Port Royal on Saturday, April the 20th. And then you win at Selinsgrove. Come back 5 days later and go 14th to 11th at the Grove. 2 bad ones. Okay. So you win Grove Friday, you go to Port Royal Saturday, and that was the big one. With Jeff Halligan, you kind of got wrong place, wrong time. Like, you couldn't really do a whole lot to get out of that one. And you junked the race car that just wins at Selinsgrove. And I'm pretty sure I saw you either like that night or the next week and was like, well, the car you won with is gone. So now what? Right. And you're like, well, we kind of threw this thing together. So talk about that and like it's never good to tear up equipment. We know that, right? I don't have to own a car to know that sucks. What was your mindset like when you tore up that race car, knowing I just won in it, I know their speed, and we're going to go put another car together? Like, did it phase you at all, or was it one of them deals where, you know, it is what it is? Like, how long did that take for you to kind of get over that?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a disheartening feeling. You get comfortable in one, and then sometimes the next one doesn't act the same. So they feel a little different every now and then, and they react different to the changes that you make. So, you know, luckily I got a good crew chief and a good guy back at the shop to help me on the cars. So we jumped back on it pretty quickly. And you know, like this one, the one that we're using now just seems like it wants something a little bit different. So once you figure that out, then, you know, it's the same thing every time. It's just figuring it out at first, what you need for that car, what that chassis likes. But now we had, after we junked that car, we had another one put together pretty much by Monday. Tyler Rissler and me, man, I tell you what, he's the best help I can find. He's been with me since I was probably 14 years old, racing 600s. And ever since then, you know, we just kind of stayed together. But we know each other pretty good, and he knows what I like. So, you know, and he knows how I work. I know how he works. But yeah, we threw another car together pretty quick, and Jim Schreiner got the job done. You know, he got to the wrenches on it and figured it out pretty quick. So
For sure. Jimmy, Chris, what do you got? I'll be right back.
Justin Whittle's in the chat here saying hi, Austin. So he had a real scary deal on Port. So glad to see he's doing okay.
buddy.
Talk about your Saturday at Port. Podium finish, tough, stacked field, fast track. It seems like you really like fast tracks. Tell us about your night on Saturday.
Yeah, you know, obviously we got lucky, started on the front row, but we needed that. You know, like you said, the track was fast. So pill draw definitely helps there. But you still got to maintain that position. I got out front early in the heat race, and then I think we missed the gear in the heat race, and the engine didn't have the engine heat in it that I wanted. And Dylan got back around me, but you know, started on the front row of that feature. And kind of stayed in second for most of the race, and the car started coming in real hard at the end, and I got caught up behind a lap car. Probably made the wrong moves on him and wasted some time when we were really fast. I started reeling Tyler back in, and like I said, I just got caught up behind him and missed my marks, and then lost some ground. So
After a good run there, you know, running Weikert this upcoming weekend, how do you feel going into that event? You know, how do you feel about, you know, maybe your chances at winning $75,000?
You know, I really want it. The car's fast, especially at the port. We time trial really well there. So just making sure that we're on top of our stuff, and making sure that, you know, the car's geared right. We got the right fuel setting in it. Read the track right. Just all the little things, you know, trying to get ahead of the game early, because honestly, I think the high limit's going to be harder to race with than what the Outlaws are. Looking forward, they have a better field, 1 through 16. You know, Outlaws have a few guys that can win every night. High limit, pretty much anybody can.
Absolutely.
So, and they can beat they can beat the Outlaws. They've already beaten the Outlaws. Like, the high limit tour is definitely, I think, the best tour right now. So they're going to be the hardest to beat.
I could agree on that, Chris.
So, first question, you kind of touched on it a little bit there, but going back to prepping for getting out of the box and unloading fast to set yourself for a good night, what are some things you and the teams worked on maybe over the off season to be better at unloading for time trials and being fast to set yourself up?
Yeah, you know, we definitely focused on the engine program a little more this year. We got some good sponsorship during the off season. We were able to upgrade our engine package and acquire a new 410 that, you know, we'll have at the end of the year from HP Engines. But just little things, and it's more of a mental approach than anything. Just having everything ready to go in the car, not rushing around. And then the guys being on top, talking to me, telling me if the tracks change or anything when I'm in the car, what somebody else did, and me reading the track. So just getting a better reading of the track, honestly. You don't really change too much setup wise. When you get a good setup, you kind of stick to that. It's just, like I said, reading the track, making sure you're ready for what changes are coming to the track, and keeping up with it.
So, go ahead. Sorry, Chris.
Well, I was just going to say, I guess my last question would be, so you have that win out of the way, first win. What are your goals for the rest of the season then?
I'd really like to get a few more wins. The first one's cool and all, but I feel like you don't X yourself until you get a few more, I want to be able to pass cars and get some wins. I want to be able to be up front, contending with the high limit guys, contending with the outlaw guys, time trialing good, just putting together solid nights, being more consistent. Just once you get that down, then your confidence is through the roof. And really, that's all this is. You and the crew get some confidence, and it's hard to stop. It's hard to stop those people.
Yeah, Jeremy.
What's your favorite version of Port Royal?
I don't like when it's like super slick. I don't like slick racetracks. I guess I should, but I don't like when they get slick. I like when it's slick to a curb, or you could throw a slide job, or stay in it pretty hard. I've always told everybody, they give you 950 horsepower. Like, why don't we use it?
Yeah.
Like, what's the point of this? So, no, I need to get better on the slick tracks, but I like Port Royal when it's slick to a curb, something that you can stay in it on and throw a pretty big slide job.
So on Saturday night at Port, it seemed like a really odd surface from the times I've gone up there. Like, we do typically see, not typically, but we see two versions of it. We've seen just heavy, or that really slick and there might be a curb, or you're just slick to a wall. Saturday night, it looked like it was blowing a little bit of dust, but it also looked like you guys were still hammered down in the feature. So was there any slick to that place at all? Or was it kind of like you just get it in the corner and just stay in it because there was a curb? Like, what was it like for driving? Because it looked like a little dusty at times.
Yeah, the heat races were obviously hammered down. So was the feature. It started to get a little dirty at the end of the race, which is when guys started moving around a little more. Honestly, I think we should have been maybe after the late model feature, one of them. They should have thrown us in about second or something. That way the track would have moved up a little more and it would have made for a little better racing. But it was pretty much hammered down the whole race, flat out. A little bit of break here and there, but that was about it.
When Baston got by you and you slid him back, how what was going through your mind about how aggressive you wanted to be to get that slider back to get second? Like, were you willing to risk a lot there, or was it like, hey, I just got to see if I can make this stick and hopefully hold on to it?
Yeah, well, obviously, I knew Courtney was good. He was going to be tough to beat. The only time I had a chance at him was when I was running him down middle of the race. He had clean air there on that last restart. So you got to start thinking about what's going to happen behind you after you throw a slide job. I knew Spencer was behind me, and I knew he was going to throw a slide job. So obviously had to protect the following corner. You just don't want to get caught up throwing too many slide jobs. You throw another slide jobs, maybe marks get past me. Maybe I'm back to fourth now, so you kind of have to know when to tuck in. If I would have messed with Spencer a little more, I probably would have ended up fourth, or getting into another battle with Brent. You never know.
Yeah.
So, Spencer had a good car too. I knew we weren't catching Tyler, so I kind of just went a little bit of conservative. After that, I think he got past me, so I just got a little conservative there.
Obviously, I'm a fan. I get to talk to you each weekend when I see you at the racetrack. But for you to finish in that top 4 with 3 high limit guys and Austin Bishop third, like, you got to feel pretty good about that for the weekend for sure. And I know last night probably didn't go exactly the way you wanted, especially your heat. Like, it was there and it just didn't work out like you wanted. But you went 21st to 14th last night. You went forward at BAPS, which isn't a track like you've probably ever set the world on fire at yet, and you don't run there a ton. But I got to think you have a lot of confidence going into this weekend. So I'm hyped to see how you do. It's going to be a hell of a battle. It's going to be a hell of a field. But look, we all know it's those 2 laps, right? You got to put yourself, especially at Port Royal in the heat races. You're not going to come from 8th to freaking 2nd in a heat race at Port Royal very often, especially against the field you're going to be in. So, like I tell Jimmy all the time, every lap matters. So I pick on him all the time because he doesn't believe it. He disagrees. But yeah, man, good luck, dude. Let Jimmy and Chris get you out of here if they have any other questions and do some sponsor shout outs. And I appreciate you being here, man.
Sounds good.
We'll get to some fan questions. The only question I have is Port on Saturday. Basically, when they were pushing you guys out for the feature, it started misting. And then it was a pretty persistent mist up until the checker flag flew, and then it stopped. Could you tell in the car that it was misting, and did it change anything?
So that's funny you ask, because when we were pushing out onto the track, I had my visor open, and it felt like I was getting wet through my visor. And I had asked the push truck guy. I said, I was like, "Is it raining right now?" And he told me no. I was like, "Oh, all right, well, I guess we're good." So I thought it might have been. Then everybody told me after that it was misting. So I guess don't listen to the push truck driver.
Well,
Jimmy said the same thing in the infield. I was like, "It's raining," and Jimmy's like, "It's not raining." I'm like, "You're a donkey because it is raining."
It was raining. It was absolutely. I'm like, the hell? I'm getting wet now.
I found it hilarious too. As soon as that checker flag flew, it was done. It was gone. It only did it for the feature. It was nice the entire night, and then all of a sudden, just when you guys are pushing out the feature, it decided to mist. It was very random.
That probably didn't help the track situation either. It was already fast, and it just made it even faster. So, I mean, 15 O's, 14 8's a track record there, and we were in 15 O's for the heat races. So, you don't, and what were times at BAPS? 15 5s. Yeah.
Exactly.
15. So you're getting around a track that's 2 times the size quicker.
I've been at Port twice this year, and both times they were in 15-second freaking lap time for time trials. I've been up there twice, and both times this year. There were years I went up there, and it would be 1 time a year. It was heavy. Once a whole year. I've been up there twice, and it's been 2 out of 2 heavy. I thought for sure with him preparing for rain all weekend that thing was going to be like hard packed, dusted off in hot laps. I couldn't believe it stayed like it was all night. I mean, were you shocked a little bit too?
It was smooth though. I was happier that it was smooth. It wasn't ruddy. So when it's that fast and it's ruddy, then that's a little bit of a problem. But it was nice and smooth. It was nice and smooth, and we didn't really have to worry about getting up on a bike too much. So, yeah, it was good. They did as good as they could with it, They always do.
Yeah, they've had such a tough year with weather, and they've been pushing through some of these iffy days, this past weekend, a couple weekends ago. So, yeah, good on them. Yep. At least they gave you guys a nice smooth track to run on, even though it was fast. Yep. Brad Weatherby asks, Austin, you're one of the most watched posse guys are usually in talks for who to watch. What have you learned from last year to this year that has helped you the most?
Honestly, just being a little more savvy, trying to grow as a driver. I guess that goes along with racing more. And honestly, we've raced a lot, so it helps me out a ton. And my crew chief, he gives me a lot of confidence. And just everybody telling me, that we're good. We're getting faster, and seeing it happen. Confidence is key. Confidence is key. So especially in these things, and you kind of got to get to the point right away. You can't just sit around in these things. You kind of have to make it happen early, and then once that happens, it gets a little easier for you. So.
Randy Kopp asked, "What is your favorite track to race at?"
I was just talking to somebody about this. Path Valley. I wish Path Valley would run 410s a lot more. We don't have very many bull rings around here. Other than Grandview, it's Path Valley and Grandview. And I want to race it at Path Valley in the worst way. I wish, Speed Week would have a show there. I wish there would be a couple during the season. And I've heard reasons why we can't, but yeah, that's my favorite place.
We agree.
Yeah.
And it does boggle the mind as to why it doesn't happen. If there's actually legitimate reasons, I'd listen and be like, okay, I'll listen to your opinion, but your opinion's wrong. So, everybody on the planet wants a freaking 410 race and more of it at Path, and it's just not happening. So I don't know if last night watching what happened at Path and how crowded that place was for late models, all the 410 races that were at Path in the past, place was packed. It can't be because there's not enough fans. So
that's what I always heard it was because they didn't have enough capacity to put the cars or the fans. But like you said, I saw that picture from last night, and it looked like the place was mobbed. So
with 60 full size trailers in the pits, like there's not room. Come on.
Yeah.
Oh, and
even
street
if it was just a 410 show, they would attract fans.
Oh my God, yeah.
Cars. You get so many different cars there. You get 305s, 358s. You get some of the smaller 410 teams. You get Western PA guys. That place could really get rocking.
Yeah, I agree. Not just for them to get on the Speed Week schedule, but just more diversity on the Speed Week schedule in general. Try to go to there's a lot of good tracks in the area, and Path Valley is one of them. So that it would be nice to see them. Marie Beasley says, "You looked really good at Port Saturday night." Tyler Koenig asks, "How neat would it be to win at Grandview on Tuesday at a place very close to where you live?"
Yeah, that would be awesome. I grew up at Grandview. I remember going and watching modifieds. That was kind of like my first race that I went to. Watched modifieds there when I was a kid. So definitely a lot of family history there. So it'd be cool to pick up a win there, especially with high limit.
Randy Kopp says it would be cool to see you win the big Weikert race. Good luck. Matt Trace asks, "What was the best racing advice that anybody gave you that that stuck with you to this day?"
Oh man, I don't know. Everybody has their own opinion, I guess. I would say just waiting for the race to come to you. Don't push the issue too much. It's all with trying to be a veteran driver almost. Just being a little more savvy. Push the issue when you need to, and then just sit back and try and be a little better towards the end of the night.
And then Ampe says, "Glad to see the 410 stuff finally coming around for you, buddy. You guys deserve it." Shout out, Ampe.
Thank you, Ant.
So yeah, before we get you out of here, do you want to thank who helps you get to the track each and every night?
Yeah. So we have a lot of guys that help us out on this car. Obviously, Cozy Clothes, Moose Meadows, Tensor Aviation, J&J, CNC Landscaping, Ames Construction, 6-1 Vape, B&H Landscaping. So the list goes on and on. HP Engines for all their help. We've sent some engines back here early in the season, and he's turned them around real quick for us. So just got to work through some kinks here, but he's a good guy to work with, Tim. But yeah, hopefully we can keep up these consistent runs and get a few more wins.
Awesome. Really, best of luck to you this upcoming weekend. I think you're going to be a threat to to be a factor, this weekend, and keep up the great work, and hope to see you in victory lane a couple more times this year.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, man. Good to see you, brother. See you this weekend.
Catch you later. See ya.
Thank you, Austin. I think who said it? Brad talking about how he's one of the a posse guy to watch. For sure, we've been talking about him a lot. He got the win at Selinsgrove against not a slouch field at all. A lot of really good cars, fast cars. And he's been knocking on the door at these other places, Port Royal. I mean, to run third at Port Royal this past Saturday against that field, I mean, not just the normal Port Royal guys, but then, you got Danny coming in, you had Macri come in, you have some high limit guys come in, just a really good field. So a lot of good things, I think, on the horizon there for Austin.
No doubt.
So let's get into this past week's action. We're going to start with Friday night at Williamsgrove. Lucas Wolf grabbing the win Friday night. Good to see him get a win. Freddie Raymer second, Troy Wogman third. Full field, 27-28 cars or so. And then you also had 358s, but let's start with the 410s. Like I said, Lucas Wolf with the win. Guys, what you guys see from this on Friday night?
I think it was a surprisingly racy surface, especially with a feature. A lot of battles throughout the field. I don't know. I mean, Lucas started second, but I think him, Freddie, Troy, or Chad Trout could have won that race, depending on how certain things went at certain times. I was entertained. It's a solid night considering the weather we've had here, and I mean, it didn't look like it was going to widen out, but it was definitely a racy track.
Friday night was weird with the weather. It didn't look like, you kept looking at the hourly. It's like, all right, we're good. We're good until probably midnight, 1 o'clock. And then you would look at the radar and like, we're going to get pummeled by 6 o'clock. And
yeah, I
it
mean, I
didn't
had
rain.
that thought. And then, I mean, they started the feature. They ran, 2 laps, brought on a caution, parked the cars for like 10 minutes because of rain, kind of like we had at Port, just more drops. And then we were good to go. But, I mean, I had fun. It was a good time.
Yeah, track was fast again all night. A little rough, a little bumpy. Actually, was it really? No, it was actually really good. I'm sorry, I was thinking of Babs last night. Babs was weirdly like bumpy, ruddy early on. But no, it was fast again. Another fast track for Williamsgrove, which we kind of all expected. The weather was a little bit, we weren't sure. It was supposed to, one of those systems where it was going to get to the mountains at night. Did any of it sneak through? It rained a little bit on my way there. It drizzled a little bit to start that feature, and I don't know if they had a different weather radar than I did, but like they should have just left them on the track 3 or 4 more laps under caution, do 1 or 2 hot laps. That track was ready to go. They pulled them all down pit road, told them to get out of their cars. They could do anything they wanted to the cars, change anything you want. And then they had to they ran a couple laps on the track and it was like ready to go. Like it just seemed like they kind of really went super aggressive on like Parkham. When it was pretty much done as they were just getting into the pits, it was like done. So I don't feel like it definitely seemed like an overreaction a little bit and just time. It was just like, come on, let's go. Come on. Like, so other than that, man, it was like Lucas Wolf continuing showing that speed. Got out front there, did everything he needed to do and did everything right. Very veteran race from the lead. Protected the bottom. Did what he had to do there and didn't allow Freddie really to kind of dive bomb him at either end, and he held on for it, drove his ass off. When you hold off Freddie in a heads up battle under green, you did it right and you drove the car hard. So I talked to him at BAPS last night actually and congratulated him again and just told him how impressed I was with that drive that he did there to end that race. So super cool for him. I hated that there wasn't victory lane because that's always going to be a popular win. But they canceled Victor Lane to get the 358 feature rolling. So, kind of sucked to not have that roll into victory lane. I don't think Lucas cares, but I care. I thought, that's a popular win. So he'll gladly take the check in silence for sure. So, but it was cool to see it, no doubt. Troy had another good run. I feel like he was there. I mean, that battle in the top 5, man, they were just like, I almost need to go back and watch it again because I was standing there watching it, like taking photos. but I didn't get to enjoy it like I should have, like I did, but I didn't. But I was only seeing a small segment of the track. Like I wish I could see it all there and been in the stands to watch it, because damn, those top 5 were just under a blanket. Like it was a war without, like, not a ton of passing through it, but man, they one slip up and somebody was going to go backwards. Like it was that close and that good.
And that's kind of what happened to Chad Trout. He was making a move on Lucas and almost had him, slipped up off 2, and that's when Freddie got past, and all of a sudden he kind of faded back some. And even Lucas they were getting through traffic. It was, like you said, not a lot of passing per se, but there's definitely a lot of positioning, and guys are ready to pounce if you messed up at all.
Yeah, Christopher Noel here says 1X Chad Trout would have won except for a lap car in the way. Can you confirm this?
He was fast enough too early in that race. Him and Lucas were pretty far out there, and while Freddie and Matt Campbell and Troy got through some traffic, but he had a shot at one point to get the lead coming off 4, and he even closed back up off 2. So I think if he gets the lead, it might be him controlling the race from out front. Same thing as Lucas.
And I mean, he was out there leading a couple weeks ago until he ran out of fuel. He's been looking really, really sporty, especially at Williamsgrove lately. So he's another one, kind of like Lucas, where it's, you're not necessarily surprised by the speed. It's just we haven't seen it consistently in a while. And so I think Lucas and Chad are kind of both in that same boat where they're, especially Chad, he's knocking on the door for a win. And Lucas got a couple now this year, which is great. So very happy for him. It's good when guys like that are also contending for wins here in PA. It's not just Freddie Raymer every week. It's not just Danny Dietrich every week. It's not just Devin Borden every week. We're starting to see a good mix of guys that show speed weekly. And these are guys that we know have speed for a long time now. So
Lucas is such a following. When he wins, it's like Jeremy said, it's always going to be a popular win.
Absolutely.
Especially at Williamsgrove. The dude grew up there, so.
Matt Campbell was hard charger. I think, did he go 15th to 5th?
Something like that, I think.
Something like that. Great run for him. He's been a guy that we talk about that has speed, and who knows what happens if he's starting up front a little bit closer.
Listen, I actually ran into Matt last night at Babs in the pit area. He saw me, and I was like, "Oh shit, you're not racing. You're here." Like, I was like, "Oh yeah, hey, what's up?" Well, and he was walking around with car owner, crew chief on the X car and the 16, I guess, here, and they talked about just kind of figuring it out. They haven't had it out much this year. A new combination there together, crew and they have the speed. They just got to put it all together, right? They got to put the whole night together because this was a time trial show as well. Or it was group time trials, and they just need to put it all together. They can pass cars. They have the speed. There was just a lot of little things that they're learning as they go, sort of deal. All the way back to the Lincoln Outlaw show. They talked about a couple things that they screwed up, not screwed up, but just didn't make the right decision on or didn't make a decision on that. They're like, okay, mental notebook. We're going to get that right for next time. We're going to get that right for next time. And they're building that communication and that relationship. And like I said, and they actually thanked me for picking them as dark horse for the Lincoln Outlaw show. And Steve Clayball, sorry. And they were like, hey, we appreciate that. And I said, it wasn't doing you a favor. I was like, I believe in, like, you guys are a team that can go freaking do that. Like, and then we talked about that, like learning from not mistakes necessarily, but in their mind, a mistake because it hurt performance. So just learning from the mistakes, and you have all the chances to make them all. Just don't do it twice, right? As a team, and go, okay, we got this. Or we made a notebook, not a notebook on weather or track surface. It's okay. We did this that time, and this is what we should have done differently, right? Not even just setups and track conditions or whatever. It's all these other things to communication building between each other. So, listen, man, I'm a believer in Matt Campbell and his talent. He can go win a lot of races. It's just got to all come together at the same time.
Absolutely. Troy, I want to give a shout out to Troy because he has moved up to second in the Williamsgrove points now after this week. So
and Lincoln
and Baps. Okay,
he's second in all of them going into this weekend.
So
he's a big Turn 2 Terribles fan.
So shout out Troy, go get him. Logan Wagner, again, just seems like every time in this 69K car when he goes to, because he's not a guy that used to go to Williamsgrove a lot, especially when he was in the Zemco car. Seems like when he's in the 69K car, when he does make a relatively rare appearance at Williamsgrove, he's running up in the top 10. So that's cool to see because, he's just doesn't run there very often. So Dylan Sisney with another solid top 10. Austin Bishop had an 11th place finish. Kyle Keene making the feature, running 20th. Good job for him. Another solid full feature for him. Just going out, doing his thing, getting laps, running competitively, getting better every week. So shout out Kyle. Anybody else that stood out to you from Friday night 410s?
I think Kyle Reinhardt, good run for him. He needed some good finishes there. I watched Kyle pretty closely, and good effort for them for sure from Williamsgrove last week. They just didn't go well. They've had a few of them, just nights not going well. So it's cool to see him get a top 10. Borden was fast. I think that he had speed there. Just got to put, again, another guy, just got to put it all together. Like so many times, the speed is there that whether they time trial good and then the heat goes bad, or, some in the feature happens, or, they screw up time trials and then they have to pass a bunch of cars. It's that same story of like, okay, let's put it all together. You got to have the speed. Every lap matters. So they all matter. So it does. And time trial shows it all matters. Every lap in the heat, every lap in the feature to set you up to contend for these wins, because they are not freaking easy. They just aren't around here. So, Dylan Sisney, consistency, Mr. Consistency for sure. Justin Whittall has shown you speed this year. He was running inside the top 5 the other week at Williamsgrove when he wrecked. So, we're going to get to that here in a little bit about his situation, but a lot of these guys, man, like it's week after week, just impressive. Freddie, Lucas, Chad Trout, Matt Campbell, Devin Borden, Justin Whittall, like Ryan Wilson, 13th. He's improving, right?
Yeah.
Like he's getting comfortable again. I think Ryan Taylor won the B, started in 20th and ended up 12th there.
Yeah.
So like Ryan Taylor's had a good season at Williamsgrove, all things considered, for as little as he races at this point. And Williamsgrove, listen, I don't know what's happened this year, but Williamsgrove and Baps all of a sudden are getting full fields every time. And more. Baps actually is almost averaging probably 40 cars a race.
Yeah, they're at least 35. Yeah.
No, yeah, 35. But like last year, there was times where they had 19, 20 cars, and we're like, what the hell? Williamsgrove last year literally had, if they weren't for some invaders and part-timers, they'd have 12, 13, 14 car fields. Mm-hmm. This year, they ran a B every night, I think.
Pretty close.
Yeah, like it's just.
What do you think? What do you think that reasoning is?
I have no damn clue. Maybe all the rainouts, and there's just
some of the new names there. You see Nash, you see JJ, you see Kyle Keene, see Tony Jackson. Derek Howe wasn't really a guy. Cal Williamson. I think we just have more cars in general in that area. I think is a big part of it.
Yeah, so I was talking with Kyle Keene actually, and we kind of lumped it into everyone kind of had the same idea: move up out of 58s. A lot of guys did anyway. But also, I think all the rainouts that keep happening. Like we already knew Lincoln was canceled, so you kind of knew it's a race off the schedule for a lot of guys. If they were going to pick and choose, they're going to go where they can race. And same for Baps. I mean, I think that's a lot to do with it. I mean, and the track service has been good.
Yep. Dave Scott Smeltzer says point fund this year, but I don't think that changed from last year. Last year was a really good point fund
for both tracks, Williamsgrove and Baps.
And now here's the thing, though. I think what you're talking about last year, Williamsgrove only getting like 15 cars some nights. That was in the dead middle of summer when there's a lot of traveling going on and stuff like that. So I'm more kind of like, hey, let's see what happens in July. But it's either way, it's good. I mean, you're right, though. They are getting more full fields this year than they were last year. So it's a good thing. It's never a bad thing. But I am kind of curious to see what happens middle of summer here. When there's some other things going on, are they going to continue to get 25, 26, 27 cars, or are you going to have nights where you have 19 to 20, which is fine too. You know what I mean? But it's good for Williamsgrove, though. I definitely think, obviously the payout helps for sure, but for me, I think it's just you have more cars that are willing to race, that are ready to go than there were last year.
I don't know because we would still get races where we get 40 cars, right? It's just a perfect combination. I think the weather's playing a factor
That
because
too. Yep.
does Jeff Halligan run Friday night if he knows Port gets in Saturday?
Good point. Yeah.
Derek Houck decided for the first time this year to go to Williams Grove, right? I just if that wasn't a time trial show, Kyle Reinhardt wasn't going to be there. He's running time trial shows. So Logan Wagner, are they full time at Williams Grove every week, right? So
Yeah.
you didn't have Lance this week. So I think the fact of
Didn't have Danny
Saturday,
either.
obviously Lincoln being rained out, and I think most of the world thought Saturday Port Royal wasn't going to get in. When you're standing there Friday night, Thursday, you're making your plan for the weekend as a race team. You're thinking, okay, well, let's pack up and go to Williams Grove, man. Let's get some laps, So I think it's been a little bit of the weather, right? Our Saturdays have been really iffy. Williams Grove's actually probably been one of the luckier ones. So
Yeah.
it's availability. So I think there's some of that. I think it's a combo. Yeah, but you're right. I think you get into July and we'll see. But
Yeah.
I think Derek Houck, he actually just mentioned, I think they heard a motor and they might be done. He's looking for rides.
Yeah. He looked really dejected Saturday night after Port. After
sure.
he looked really upset. So you never want to see that. Christopher Noel says, "Do you think it's because some the big names are not here as much?" I don't think so.
No, because I think some of these guys aren't necessarily out there to contend for wins yet. They're just wanting to make fields and get laps.
Yeah.
And they know Williams Grove's been a place where you could show up, put a 410 in it, and you're going to make a feature. You're going to get a hot lap session, a heat race, and an A main.
Mhm.
Now this year it's like, damn, I'm fighting for a B to get my laps. So, I don't think so. I don't know if it's contributed. I doubt it.
And also without
guys.
Yeah, and without, just it's only a couple big names, but those are still cars that you're without then that kind of bring the car count down. So,
yeah.
I mean, you have a 32 car field if you have some of the guys that ran there last year, some of the bigger names there that didn't go to high limit, So, I don't know. But it's a good thing to see. It's not a bad thing at all. It'll be interesting to keep an eye on, and it's good for Williams Grove.
Hey, real quick, you mentioned Logan Wagner.
Yeah.
And I had to look this up because I've already seen rumblings about the 69K and it's not performing and, whatever. Okay.
I don't know about that.
Here's Logan Wagner's season. He's ran 7 races.
7. And were they all top 10? I think they were all probably top 10s except for
he has 5 top 10s. He has a 16th at Port. I think that was the night at the Kaufman when he blew a tire.
Yes.
Right. And he has an 11th at Port this weekend. Otherwise, it's 9th,
right there.
It's 9th, 5th, 7th, 8th, and 8th. Yeah, it's not a win every freaking 2 nights out, okay? But they're still figuring out as a team what he likes, what they like, what they need. And he's not been doing this for 25 years. He's not a veteran. And listen, Lance Deweese is an alien. That 69K didn't win that many races its whole life until Lance Deweese got in that car. So let's just pump the brakes a little bit on this isn't working out kind of deal. So
I agree.
7 whole freaking races and we're all in the middle of May. Like, let's just relax a little.
And how many did they have together last year? There was race 12 for them now, and they all were tough fields.
Right.
At the end of last year, everything was a tough field for them, and they were chaos.
There you
They'll
go.
be all right.
Comment there, Jimmy. Randy, this is the owner of the 1X. The 1X wouldn't have been there if Lincoln was running. Last minute decision to go. Only running time trial shares at the Grove, right? So exactly, like that's common. I think it's all of those things are playing factors. Reinhardt, time trial only. The 1X was not planning on coming, but hey, it's a time trial show and Lincoln already canceled. Let's go to the Grove. So it's just the right combination at the moment. And maybe it doesn't last, but it's more promising than we started last year by this time. So
doesn't Knoxville run time trial shows like every week? They do time trials for all their divisions, or at least 360 and 410s. Maybe it seems to be maybe more of a direction that we go around here. These tracks have gotten so efficient at being able to do it. Even if it's group time trials, 3-4 cars at a time. Instead of doing a random pill draw, I think it's the way to go. Because if that means if you see here team owners here and drivers saying, "Hey, I'm only going to go if it's time trial show," I think tracks are starting to listen and making more time trial shows. Like you asked with Austin before, they're doing them early in the year. It could be a time where 90% of the friggin' shows around here are time trial shows, and I think a lot of people would be happy with that, and it would be interesting. So maybe you get more cars that way.
The more time goes, the more I like BAP's format. The group time trial hot lap
Yeah.
session.
I'm fine with.
You're
time
cutting out a whole
concept.
session, all the cars 4 at a time. You're timing and hot lapping together. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm more and more leaning toward I like this. I like the
Mhm.
format. You know, line up however you want to do your format after that, based on those lap times, fine. But I'm liking it more and more. What do you think,
Yeah.
Chris?
I'm a sucker for single car time trials, but
Same.
I know.
I,
And we'll have
but
enough of
I mean,
it.
I
We will have
I
enough
get.
of it.
There's a time and place for that, like the 50, the national, the outlaw shows, the high limit shows. It's probably the time to do those. Not every week,
Right.
but I personally like one car at a time. But I mean, group anytime that you can give guys a chance to make their own luck by going out and timing, I think that's going to be a good thing.
Amp A says, it's still early enough yet. Grove hasn't had a handicap show yet, have they? I think you'll see car counts drop slightly once handicaps starts ramping up. And that's kind of what I was saying. Like, let's wait till July and see, what happens. But either way, I mean, I don't think a 20 car count is a bad thing. I don't think it's because, like you said, there's some of these guys that are coming because they know they're going to get through the entire night. Is it ideal? No. But I mean, we have a lot of quality cars here, and you're going to see quality racing if it is only 20 cars for some reason. But yeah, I am kind of interested to see how that goes throughout the season. I'm fine with group time trials, but single car time trials are definitely the best. But I think that should definitely be for your bigger shows, for sure. Those are definitely the best. Steph asked, what are handicaps and what do they do? And you guys want to help explain that?
Well, in my case, oh no, that's not what you mean. Go ahead, Chris.
Depending on how you do it, I mean, usually it's going to
Each
take the
track
fast
is
guy,
different.
put him in the back, or
Yeah.
make him have to, like a guy like Freddie, and we use him as an example. At Lincoln last year, had to start 12th almost every time, or last in his heat, get to the redraw, start 12th again. Sometimes it goes off money, points, whatever.
Yeah. I think
It's a
Williams-Grove does money.
It's a way to try to help parity in a way.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it puts the guys that are fast, that have proven that they're fast every week, kind of makes it a little bit tougher for them, shove them back a little bit, make them have to pass cars to win more races, which is why you saw Freddie last year at Lincoln do it all the time. That's what made what Freddie did last year so impressive, because it wasn't just he's starting on the front row or the top 2 rows every time. He's coming back from 12th because he's getting handicapped and thrown back there. So
there was a time,
and he's still coming through.
There was a time when I think it made a lot of sense. The field now is so close that it's probably time to look into a different direction, because there's no real slouch. Look at that top 10. Any one of those guys starts on the front row.
And maybe that's time trials.
That's what I'm saying. It's probably
so
trials
listen,
or something.
This has been the debate of the decade, because this is what the fans usually and drivers usually go to bitch about when everything else is boring. Okay. This is like slow news day arguments, is handicapping. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it against this team? Is it against that team? Is it for the little guy? Is it against the big guy? Blah, 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 blah. I've been hearing it for years and years and years. The reason they do it is that they don't want to do time trials, either for efficiency of the show or guys having to feel like they need to go pay for a big motor for 2 laps, right? Just like we talk about when the Outlaws come into town. Oh, they built these monster motors for 2 laps, and it forces you to go by. Okay, well, let's not do time trials, and what we'll do is we'll take the high point guy and we'll line him up in the back of the field. And then the high point guy is going, well, your track sucks, and I can't pass cars because it's one lane all the time. There's no perfect way to do it.
No, there's no balance. Yeah, you're just trying to find them happy.
When they just draw out of a hat, if somebody goes, oh, this is shitty because I got the shittiest luck on the planet. Like, There's no perfect way. I do like a mix of it. I don't know if there is a perfect way, because even if it's group time trials, you're still going to have the guys bitch who don't have the motor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or complaining that's why they don't have enough speed or blah, blah, blah. Like it's been that back and forth thing forever. I believe, though, if we are time trialing, I'm a big fan of time trialing against your heat. At least you're going to be close to the same track surface and track state. At least it's equal that way. And then you get to go perform. I don't love handicapping, but I know why they did it, so fans don't just see the same guy win from the pole every week. I totally get it, right? I totally get it. but there's, I don't know, a competition has gotten closer. It's harder to pass. Aero, these cars, everything, and I've heard that kind of thing for years. I'm okay with the handicapping. Listen, if you're good enough, you overcome it, and Freddie can prove that, right?
Mhm.
So he proved it at Lincoln last year. No matter how much people want to say that everything was given to him, it's just not the fact. It's just not true. So it'll be a debate to go on forever around here and everywhere else. I don't necessarily believe we need to go to time trials for every track, every race, everywhere. I don't think so. I don't think it needs to happen. But if it's going to, it'll be 410s, right? The premier division.
Yeah. I think just 410s if you're going to do it.
Yeah. But
and I think, like you said, competition is so close. The cars are so close these days that you're seeing guys like a Reinhardt or Chad Trout saying, "Hey, I'm only running time trial only shows here." Why? Because they can at least control it in their hand a little bit more. And the thing is that draw still matters a lot for that. You know what I mean? If there's 30 cars there and it's, you start getting in these summer months here where it's hot, it's going to slick off quicker. Shit. I mean, there could be a big difference from going out first to 30th. You know what I mean? So there's still a little bit of that. Hey, you got to work all night type of thing. I don't know. I don't know if there's a perfect way to do it a weekly way, but I do think more and more time trial shows are the way to go. And handicapping is kind of, especially when you could just do kind of like a redraw invert type of deal. Hey, pick a number out of the hat and we're going to flip you guys to top 8 or 6 or whatever you pull out, or you just do a full redraw or whatever. You're already mixing up the field enough, in so many different ways. Handicap just kind of is just another way of doing that.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go from there. Hold on, before we go. Randy Kopp says, somebody started last this weekend and won an open wheel race. Can't remember too many bong hits.
Okay.
Love you, Randy. And then this was some, Darren Pittman in the 69K for the big shows. Yeah, and which is why I was kind of saying, hey, look at Logan running top 10 here at Williamsgrove. Maybe he should get more. I mean, it'll be cool to see Darren Pittman in the 69K, and that's their deal that they got. But it would be cool to see Logan be able to run some more things other than just Port Royal. And it's cool to see him at Williamsgrove when he can.
Darren Pittman wins the National Open in that car. I'm going to read mine.
All right, so let's go to the 358 feature real quick. Andy Best wins, Ford powered, over Derek Locke and Steve Owings. Chase Gutshaw fourth. Shout out Gutshaw Automotive and Chase. Kyle Spence seventh. Wyatt Hinkle sixth. Logan Rumsey fifth. Nasty wreck for Sam Miller. That was pretty scary. Samuel Miller.
That was an early one.
I got nothing. I don't want to even talk about it. I'm glad he's okay. Bad situation all around. I've heard a lot of things the last couple of days about it. A lot of debate. I don't know. I will see, but I'm glad he was able to get out of that. That was one of the more gnarly wrecks I've seen. So glad he was okay and able to walk away from that thing. So, kudos to his family and team for putting good safety equipment around him to keep him safe. He's a young guy and he's a rookie in that division. So just glad he was able to walk away from that deal and, go get checked out to make sure, make sure he leads a good, healthy life, man. It's, this is a hobby at this point, whatever he wants to do in the future, to make sure he has all the right stuff now is worth it. So Andy Best, man, fantastic night for him. Best I've seen that 34 car look. Absolutely a rocket ship all night. But I'll tell you what, Derek Locke looked like Derek Locke a little bit Friday night. He was coming at the end. He was running him down. That ends up a 2, 3, 4 more laps, man. Derek Locke is there. So great run for him. Chase Gutshaw overcoming the handicap. We just talked about it. He went from like 9th to 3rd in that heat, and it was like 9th to 5th in a lap. Like, he just said, okay, see ya, around the top of 1 and 2. And he freaking sent it there, man. And that top 10 right there, if you look at that top 10, that's as good as it gets, guys. That Adam Carberry in 10th is a URC driver. Mm-hmm. A good one at that. Doug Hammaker to run 8th. Kyle Spence 7th. These are guys that won races.
Cody Fletcher is really good in that division too, finishing 13th.
Yeah.
You know, just
So
the 358 division is really, really tough. I mean, I know we've talked about the 358 guys, but it's so tough from top to bottom. Good for Kyle Spence. I think is he second now in 358 points there? Or?
He may have been. He went into the night. I know Nat Tucky was second going into the night. So, and he wasn't able to be there. He had one of his sons got married. So, so maybe Kyle has taken over second there. I don't know. I didn't look at it today.
Ant could let us know on that, and I want to know from Ant if you guys are going to start points racing there now.
I saw Ant. I was so starstruck when I saw him. I didn't know what to do.
Ant says yes, we are second now. So good for him. He's 7th place finish. They got that car ripping. But we are not points racing. I don't blame you. That'd be tough to commit to. But yeah, just that's really it from the 358 feature. Just another. They had another really good. Was it like 30 358s somewhere around there?
30 and 31. Like I forget the number, but yeah, right around 30.
So good car count there. 358s this Friday will be a Big Diamond. For the first, I think it's the first summer series race, or at least at Big Diamond it is. So that'll be interesting. While Friday night at Grove, we'll get into this later, but for 10s for the Trone Tribute, we'll have 305 sprint cars. But if you're in the area of Big Diamond, go check it out. 358 sprint cars should be a lot of fun there. Big Diamond's in Pottsville. That's where I was on Friday. It was a freaking marathon. For the sportsmen and all the modifieds. I think you guys were way home from Williamsgrove already.
Yes.
And I live 24 miles-ish away from Big Diamond, and I didn't even leave the track yet. it was a marathon. Just real quick, just the wingless sportsman race, there was a lot of attrition. Scary wrecks. There's a big one like Daytona, Talladega type of style, big one. Trent Yoder ended up winning. Brett Perigo finished in third. Brian Holman one piece. There's 6 cars that finished. And the modified races were pretty good. I think Eddie Strada won the 358s, which I remember seeing him winning a speedster race. I know he's a micro guy, so he's just kind of winning a little bit of everything. And then they had rookie 602 modifieds as well, and they had the EMMR laps that they do. They had them there too, and it's always just so cool to see some of those cars that they put out there running. Some guys just out there still hauling the mail. So it was a cool. It was a long night, but it was a cool night. The sportsman, the wingless sportsman pit was a little tense after, because there's a lot of torn up race cars, which is a shame. So I hope everybody's okay and can get back to the racetrack this weekend. But that's about all I'll say on that, since there is no Roland podcast this week.
I will say Eddie Strada also has a few starts in a 358 sprint car as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
When Logan Rumsey broke his arm last year, or the year before, his rookie year, Eddie Strada ran a few races in that car.
Oh, okay. Look at that. The more you know.
The more you know.
Put the star up, like on NBC. The more you know. Yes, I did say only 6 wingless sportsmen finished. It was a marathon. It was like over an hour. There's a couple of red flags. There were some rough wrecks. And there were some heated, tense arguments from what I've heard I was kind of there, but I didn't see it, but in the pit area. So just hope everybody can go ahead.
Half the field wrecked, and the repair bill was like $37.62. So
It's a bad day to be
buy
a
a
wingless
frame and those
sportsman.
things at Dollar General, I think, from what I've gathered, and that's a good thing, by the way. Cost efficient racing.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
but still, competition and emotions get involved. But yeah, the repair bill wasn't very steep for all those cars that were wrecked.
Yeah. Yeah, and the one wreck was car went out.
Gabner.
Gabner went out of the park. That was scary. That was a tense moment. That whole car, the car got taken back to the pit on a rollback and on a tow truck. On the rollback was the back and the front end, and then the frame was on the tow truck. I never seen anything like it. So Hope everything's good there. But yeah, so that's all I'll say about that. But yeah, if you're in the area, definitely go check it out. It's a cool little racetrack. It's a tough track. It's definitely unique. And I'm sure 358s will put on a hell of a show there. Let's get to Port Royal Saturday night. Now, before we get into that, let's talk about Lincoln. A little bit of controversy, but I don't think so. I think it made sense. They were going to have their fallen firefighters race, which isn't just a race. It's an entire event all day long. There's a the parking lot party with bands, games, stuff like that. It's an all day event. There's a lot that goes into it. And they made the call on Thursday because looking at the weather, it looked like it was going to rain most of the day Saturday. And it did. It rained until probably mid-afternoon. So they decided, hey, let's reschedule this for a nicer day because you don't want to just try to take a race like that and just try to push the race in. They probably could have raced, maybe. But if they would have probably had to cancel all the other stuff around it. So what's your opinions on what they did? I think it was a good move by them. Give that show the proper time,
Exposure.
and the proper exposure to be what it should be.
They're the ones signing the checks, so I let them run their business however they want.
That's fucking weak. You pussy.
I mean,
listen.
if you're gonna cancel it, I guess cancel it early. I don't know. We all thought it was gonna rain. I don't know if it's because I changed my name or we had a magic pearl to get Port Royal to race or not. I don't know, but something happened that Port Royal got the race. I don't know.
I think it was fine. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I mean, they took a chance. Listen, they take a chance to open themselves up for criticism by doing this. This is very un-Lincoln-like to go this soon. But I'll tell you what, when I left my house to go to Port Royal, my driveway and road were wet. Like, it was still misty and raining south. So Lincoln is a lot further south than Port Royal. Everything was kind of like, hey, the further north you are, the sooner it dries up, it gets out of town. I agree 100% with it. I think it would have been an absolute mess in the parking lot for the festivities.
Yep.
And yeah, 100% agree with what they stated that event deserves more.
Yes.
And hopefully that works out for them in the future. Could they have raced a race like that night? Probably. Lincoln's good enough to get that done, but not with that event. No, I just don't see it. So
yes.
Listen, in Port Royal, it wasn't without its own little mist and we talked with Austin. It was pretty damn wet when I left my house down here, and I'm due east of Lincoln, like on the same parallel, right? They did the right thing. That's my opinion.
Port Royal has a magic.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was just kind of shocking to see them do it on Thursday.
And Port Royal has a magic pearl or something that makes them get races in.
No, they don't. They've been rained out more than anybody.
Yeah,
they used it this week.
They did use it this week.
Brad Zerk says Fred Putney at L&M Tire on Friday said they were saving money. Yeah,
I don't blame them. They would.
I don't blame them. Exactly. And like I said, with that event, they're putting a lot of money into it to put on an event. It's not just the race; it's the event around it. So yeah, correct. I mean, if you're not going to get anybody there to enjoy the event, why do it? So I think it was a smart move. And yeah, they could have maybe just said, "Hey, we're going to just run a regular 410 show," but why? Why say that and then maybe you don't even get it in anyway. So I think it was the right move. So good on Lincoln. It was just kind of shocking to see him do it on Thursday, but I still think it was the absolute right move. So Port Royal Saturday, you had some high limit guys come down because Fonda got canceled for high limit that was supposed to originally run on Saturday. And now the next race is Weikert this upcoming week. So why not come down and get tuned up? And some guys did. And that's why you see two high limit guys at the top of the list there, Tyler Courtney, Spencer Baston, and then our guest from this evening, Austin Bishop, round out the podium, and you have Brett Marks there. You also had Corey Day, who's just, man, that kid is so freaking fast at Port Royal. The two times now he's been there, but can't get into a feature. He can't run any laps in the feature. So it was an interesting night for sure. It didn't seem there's a lot of good guys buried in the back, and there's some good battles. It started getting racy more towards the end. Tyler Courtney, a lot, people say that there wasn't a lot of passing, but Tyler Courtney went from 10th to 1st. So, I mean, he still had to come from and pass a lot of cars to get up there. I thought it was going to be Chase Dietz's night going into it. I think he was starting like 5th or 6th or so. And I thought, this could be his night. but it wasn't quite. He still had a good, solid top 10 finish. Garrett Bard led a lot of this race. He started on the pole and he stayed out there. Like, he led probably the first half of this race at least, and
He led until like 9 to go or so, 10 to
yeah.
go.
Which was surprising because, I mean, yeah, sometimes the way the redraw works and everything, you have guys that start up front that you don't really expect to, and you kind of expect them to cut. But I mean, he didn't fall back to fifth until like the last lap. He was set up in a podium position pretty much until the last couple laps there. So, what'd you guys take away? You guys were both there with me on Saturday. What'd you guys take away from this?
Good night to be at the track. I mean, it wasn't the Port Royal, like Austin said. It's not the Port Royal that we all love, where it's multi-groove. It was getting there towards the end. It was fast, hammer down, but still a good night. I mean, obviously there's passing if you're good, since Baston moved up. I mean, Brent Marks came from 9th to get up there too. I think you're gonna have that when, like I said, the weather conditions are what they are, and they had to prepare for potentially some kind of rain to avoid having a complete potato of a show. So all in all, I think it was a solid day. I mean, solid night at the track, and that's the best you could hope for, really.
Yeah, Port was a handicap show, but that was a handicap from the top 3 from each heat. It was a draw for heat lineup.
Yeah, it's like
so
right.
Draw for heat lineup and then handicap. So that's why Courtney was 10th, Brent was 9th because they hadn't been there all year. So super fast racetrack. You know, Tyler Courtney, Spencer. I'm honestly impressed with Spencer Baston here because, you know, he has not really shown that kind of speed on the half miles. So that was, I'm sure he's feeling like pretty damn good about his result there. Brent was in 7th until that last restart and went 7th to 4th. He really had speed, but it wasn't like this like Tyler Courtney kind of speed. So good restart. Garrett Bard, man, super impressive. Like, they got a motor, they got a program. It sounded like the motor was starting to overheat, and that's why it stumbled on the one restart at the end. You know, but to hold off and lead as many laps as he did in that race just shows you what the capabilities are with both Garrett and his program. I think he surprised himself a little. I think I read an article Jeremy Elliott posted that he was even like, wow, like, we're hanging in here. Like, we got something. So, you know, they really went to work in the off season, put a whole new deal together, and just super impressive all around. Austin Bishop, obviously, we just talked to him, hung around. You know, and actually, it's funny. Dallas Shot just chimed in and said it's the fastest he's ever gone in a race car, in a sprint car, and it was badass. Made the feature, you know, and it was hammered down, and honestly, looked pretty good, right? He finished 18th there. It's like, you know, he's going to remember that for a long time, probably, when you go up there for the first time and you hear it's a speed palace, but we're used to slow and slick, and it was the speed palace, my friends.
Yes.
It was all of that. So yeah, you know, listen, I can't say that I'm going to go cheer for Tyler Courtney or root for him against Brent. I'm a Brent fan, clearly, but I wasn't disappointed in this. It's just, I expect he should be contending for this win no matter where he starts. That's the bar for him at this point. So
he's really found something at Port Royal in the past year. I mean, he won one of the outlaw races last year. He's been running up there. He was a contender every time he ran there last year. And it wasn't that way when he first started going there. And it seems like that with a lot of guys that first go to Port Royal, it's national guys, except for somebody like Corey Day, who just seems to always hit it. But there's a lot. I mean, we've seen a lot of these guys. Like Spencer Baston was one that was really surprising that one. But he won his first win in the 5 was at Port Royal, so wasn't that surprised by him being up there. But I wouldn't say he was somebody that I would put in my top 5 as a contender. But he's there. Just Corey Eliason with the 10th. Jake Carklin, another top 10. Man, I'm telling you, he looks really good in that 35 car there, especially at Port Royal. He's been pretty solid there when he's able to at least race. I know he's had some things go wrong here and there. But yeah, he's been looking really, really good in that car. He's looked good at Port Royal in his own car in the past, but in that 35 car, it's kind of taken it up a little bit of a notch. And I would not doubt if he's another guy that we're talking about getting his first win here later this year. Maybe it's a place like Port Royal or even Selinsgrove. Some other storylines from this: Anthony Macri missing the show. Just had a tough night. What I can't remember what happened to him in his heat.
They said he said that they thought they had a flat tire, so they pulled
Yeah,
off, and they
he
couldn't
pulled
get back
off,
out.
couldn't get back out.
They had to go to the B and got the 5th, couldn't quite get to the final spot.
He was coming. I really thought he was going to get there, but he couldn't quite finish it off. He had to come from all the way in the back of the B, which was almost a full B. Well, like half full B, because there was 37 cars I think they had there, 35,
37, something like that. Yeah.
So it was a pretty stacked B main. Danny won the B main. He ended up coming from 13th on used tires. He said didn't want to throw new ones on for to maybe get to 10th. But yeah, just there's a lot of good big names like in the back half of the field. You had Danny, Lucas Swift, Lance DeWeese, Devin Borden. Logan Wagner was 11th there. Chase Dietz, like I said, I thought he was going to be a guy that was going to contend for the win. He kind of fell back a little bit, but looked solid still overall. And yeah, Corey Day, man, if he gets to actually run some feature laps here, he's going to contend for that $75,000. He looks really good there. The 2 times he's been there, he just doesn't seem to be able to run the feature because something goes wrong. He was in that deal with Justin Whittle. Glad to see Justin that was in the chat, and sounds like he's sore but okay. That was a scary deal. But he was also involved with that, put him behind. He ended up making the feature but not being able to run any laps. Steph says my fiance took me up to the merch section. Bad idea. Only left with 2 pair of earrings and 2 victory fuels, though, so controlled myself. Good job. That was their second time to Port Royal, and but her first time up to they didn't really go to the midway or the whole new merch section for all the teams there. And the way they have that set up is awesome. It takes all that congestion out of the midway, and but they have so much around there, so it's really cool. Super late model race was pretty good.
Was it? Did you get to watch it, Jimmy?
I didn't watch it. No.
Oh.
I watched the highlights after.
Oh.
But
did more than I did.
But I left, so not because I didn't want to watch late models. It's just after the marathon at Big Diamond, after the marathon at Big Diamond the night before, and then I had a busy Saturday, and I rushed the port, and it was just time to go.
Love how he rushes the port, but he's there 3 hours before both of us, Jay-Z.
If I'm not there,
he was there before the gates open.
If I'm not there before pit gates open, I feel like I'm late. That's just how I am. 'Cause I don't know why. I don't have a luxury of just rolling out of my house half an hour before a race to get to a track. I got to plan this shit for an entire fucking day. So
all I hear is excuses, my guy.
I'm just saying half hour. We
sprint
rose
car,
8 minutes.
The sprint car feature's over. I walk around turn 2 where the turn 2 terribles are, and the only turn 2 terribles left are freaking Andy and his buddy, the ones that are further away from the racetrack than any of us. They're the only 2 left.
Hey, I'll be there at Port Royal, hopefully by 1:00 on Friday afternoon, and I'll be there through Monday. So,
all right, you made up for it. All right,
I will not be there at all.
Finn Lou,
hold
on. Finn Lou says, "Mark my words, Blaine Heimbach comes out of the woodworks and takes the $75K this Sunday." That's a bold prediction. He's solid. I mean,
hold on, let me screenshot this. I'm marking this guy's words. Hold on. All right, it's marked.
It's not. Blaine's won there before. He's solid there. He ran 12th this past week. He's always in the contender to be a top 10, but it's a tough field. Brad says, "Welcome to my world, Jimmy." Yeah, I hear you, man. I got to plan that shit out all day. Sorry, go ahead, Jay-Z.
No. I just say, Brad, you got a plan though. Like Jimmy's truck's a little faster than your wheels, my guy.
Pretty sure Jay-Z came from farther to go to Port Royal than Jimmy did, but whatever.
I don't know, hour and a half.
I'm like an hour 10, hour 15.
Yeah, about the same. No, that super late model race was awesome, man. It sucks because I'm rooting for Trevor Feathers for sure. Just got to know him I don't really know him, but doing the photography deal and Rich and helping out Rich with Addicted to Dirt. He's a client of Rich's, and definitely was rooting for him. It's a pretty race car, and got out and got going there, but. man, Colton Flinner. I didn't even realize it was Colton Flinner because that car all night kept jumping out, and I'm like, man, that's a sharp race car. That's a good looking race car. And Colton Flinner now for 3 years in a row has had one of the sharpest race cars on the racetrack. The black with the orange and the reflective.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is year number 3 where I'm like, damn, that's almost freaking Colton Flinner. Like shame on me. I know the name. I've seen him race. He is fast. That car was ripping in the heat race. When he got to second, I'm like, holy shit, he's going to run him down here. Last lap, last corner pass, gets it done. Very emotional victory lane. Lost his dad last fall. First time in victory lane since he lost his dad. It was a difficult interview for him to get through. He never, his tone of voice never raised. He was quiet the whole time. Just very emotional victory lane for him and the whole family. Him, his wife, the kids, the team, just super emotional. Again, I hate to see Trevor Feathers lose that way when he led the whole race, but just a cool deal all around. Great race.
Matthew Bird here says Nathan Long versus Austin Berry. That happened in the B main, I believe. There's some weird stuff that happened during the late model heats in the B main. Who's in the 2J?
Joe
broke.
No,
Yeah, he broke, right? He was running second or third in the heat. He broke coming out of turn 2 as they're battling 3-car battle for that spot, and he broke and just died in front of a loop. Was it Lufer and somebody else? But it took.
It might have been Trevor
cars.
Feathers. Trevor Feathers, I think, was the one.
Yes,
right
Trevor
him.
Feathers is the one that ended up turning him.
Yeah,
and I think Mike Lufer was the other car that was involved.
Had nowhere to go.
Yeah, nowhere to go. It just it wasn't really anybody's fault. It just the car kind of just, you heard it just go, just kind of like he was like letting off the throttle, and I think he was trying to get down to the pits, but they were all just racing so close. It was just a bad spot, and there was a couple different battles throughout all night. So that's just it's cool to see that division just continue to build there at Port Royal.
Yeah, the whole Austin Berry one, I caught the end. Like apparently there were but I was walking down the front stretch where Austin Berry was in the pits there, kind of like the hot pits as they call it, and I saw some guy freaking out across the track in the pits, and there was more to what I even saw. But I talked to Austin and his dad either later or the next day. I don't remember where or when or how, but I forget to talk to him. And I was like, what was dude mad about? He's like, we're not sure because
I wasn't sure either.
Like apparently that guy that was pissed blew the corner, drove all the way up the track in 1 and 2, and Austin just kind of like, it reminded me of like the Stenhouse Kyle Busch thing last night, where he got up the track and Austin just kind of filled the hole and just was going to drive off, and something happened. Kids pissed off, and Austin was like, I don't know what I did because he blew the corner. So
yeah,
I may have to go back and look at it. I mean, I only heard one side of it. I don't even know the other guy. But he was super angry, like very mad.
He was coming out to the track. I think at one point they had to pull him.
Yeah, big time. Right? Pulling him back in. There was something about a tire he was trying to lift or throw or something. Yeah. I don't know. Crazy shit. Too many freaking victory fuels apparently. But yeah, I don't know. But Austin had a super frustrating night all around with them. So I think a recap, they found a couple things wrong. A broken U-joint. They had something else wrong in the suspension. So that was their first time out. They did a little testing the other night at BAPS. Had a little bit of an issue there. Just shaking things down. Just kind of getting going. And they'll get another crack at it this weekend because I think they are with the High Limit Series Saturday night. So Subarus are back at Port Royal Saturday.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was good to see Austin out. Friend of the show. We know he's been dealing with some trying to get the car out there. Good to see him out there. Obviously, it's good to find it now. Before anything gets hopefully too broken or anything like that, and they get it figured out, and maybe he's contending here Saturday night. Anything else from Port Royal this weekend?
Limited lay models. We had Ryan Zook take the feature win. There's so many black and yellow race cars in that division, but he gets out of the car and does the sketch on top of the car. So that was kind of cool. Popular for sure. The 13 fans that were left, not Jimmy or Chris. But that was a cool win. His team and family were super fired up, so that was cool. They had a smaller field. Again, we talked about the limiteds having small fields.
But they're good fields still.
But they're good fields, right? That's a good group up there at the front. Devin Hart, Trent Brenneman, obviously Ryan Zook, Lane Snook. Like there's some good cars up there for sure to contend. So, oh yeah, 2 track records. He beat the 20 lap track record for the limiteds up there. That's how fast they were. All night still at the end of the night. They broke that one. So, but pretty cool for sure. Good night at Port.
Always a good night at Port. Excited to get up there this weekend. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Let's get to yesterday. Baps, Jacob Allen getting the win. Corey Lyson second. Danny Dietrich finally getting back up into a podium spot after fighting some gremlins for the past couple weeks. You were there, Jay-Z. What'd you see from this race?
I think it was pretty good, but it was pretty good from like second on back. Not that Jacob dominated and ran away, but he really wasn't super challenged. Jacob did a fantastic job in lap traffic. He mentioned Victory Lane, like all the lap cars really worked in his favor. He didn't really have to make too many super hard decisions. A lot of them just got down out of his way. He kind of committed to the top and stayed there. Danny was obviously very good. Corey was good. Freddie was competitive. Danny and Freddie had a pretty good battle there for a little bit. And whenever they're near each other, you're always kind of watching because you never know what the hell's going to happen. Macri got wiped out. He got bordened a little bit, it looked like. Then Devin broke. So they were up there. Devin was fast. Troy, kind of a little bit of a good night, but like didn't really, for starting where he started, I think he started 6th, finished 6th, was around other cars competitive, but they kind of got strung out for a while. That top 6, 7 really kind of got strung out, and not the most exciting Babs race I've ever seen, but Jacob did his freaking job, man. Like I'm not gonna hate on Jacob doing his job, and he earned his way to get to the redraw and took control and ran away with it a little bit. So Logan Rumsey, man, P8, like running with the big boys. Cody Hartlaw with the top 10, good time trial night. New car put together there since they had their pretty big wreck at Lincoln the other week. So good on him. Ryan Newton, P11. They're down to 1 motor. Ryan's going to be finishing up here pretty soon. He's going to head back home for like a month or so, and he'll be back in later this summer. They have a new motor getting put together too. So he'll have a little bit of a break here as we get into that. I talked to him a little bit this weekend. Kyle Reinhardt, P12. He's good at BAPS. Austin Bishop, P14. Again, had a little bit of struggle in the heat, came forward. My boy Brett Strickler made the A main. He's pumped. Had a good time trial night. Probably not as great as he wanted to be in the feature there, but he made the A and he was running around good race cars. So Kyle Spence, unfortunately, sucks. He made the A, came out of the B. Listen, they broke the front axle because Devin Borden thought the whole field had gone by. When Devin broke, turned around across the track right in front of Kyle, and Kyle had nowhere to go. I don't know what Devin was doing, but he had to have thought that everybody was by him already, right? But you don't have mirrors, so you don't know. Lucas Wolf, another top 10. Just kind of look at this rundown. There's storylines throughout this field on how guys have been doing. Pretty cool.
Kyle Moody, man, another top 5 at BAPS. He's been running really, really well there. I think he's going to crack one there this year. I think he's going to grab a win.
You think so, right? Like you just feel like it's going to happen. He led some laps earlier this year, had some good runs, with Macri and Danny and things, and yeah, you almost feel like it's going to happen.
Tyler Ross is another one, another top 10. He was a guy that led a lot of the last race there, and ran really well until Macri passed him, and he's another guy that runs really well at BAPS. Ryan Newton, you brought up. We were talking we were hanging out with Seth a little bit on Saturday night at Port Royal, and he was telling us a little bit about, just kind of what they're going through and what they're trying to accomplish here before he does, go back and all that. So good to see him run 11th. They made the feature at Utica Rome, I believe. So that was good. They went up and tried some of the high limit stuff up there, which we're going to get to in just a second, and made a feature. So he's a guy that's just learning and Rumsey was really probably the one that really stood out to be top 10, man. Just awesome to see. He had a really good, and Brett Strickler. I was really, every time I was checking in on updates, I'm like, man, he was real fast. He finished 4th in his heat. I know he didn't really move anywhere in the feature, but just making that feature with as many cars as were there, there's another 37 car night or
39,
whatever
I
it
think
was,
it was.
39. I mean, just to make the feature, when they've been having, they've been at the gate, they had some struggles here with the 410, and he thinks they got it. It sounds like he thinks they got it figured out, and obviously, I mean, 15th against that field is still nothing to hang. That is something to be pumped about. So, good for him.
My question, since you brought up Seth, once Ryan leaves, what is Seth Dietrich going to be doing?
Is he
Being
going
a
to Australia
gremlin.
too? Like, is he leaving?
He should probably go to Galapagos or something like that. Just get the hell away from me.
He's
not going to beat me in a race.
He's going to be racing you on foot somewhere. He should be racing you at every
when he loses
every
that
weekend.
When he loses that, he can go to the Galapagos Islands and piss off.
Galapagos Island. Okay.
Yeah, really extreme.
Speaking of Seth, Billy finishes 13th. Solid run for him too at BAPS.
Yep, no doubt.
Good for him. All right, real quick, let's get to some of the other national series real quick. Outlaw Speed, Kokomo. We were kind of live doing that last Monday. Who the hell won that? No, that just left my mind. Who the hell
Tyler
won
Courtney.
That? It was Tyler Courtney. That was my pick, right? Yeah. Tyler Courtney won. And then Outlaw Speedway on Thursday night. Brad Sweet with the win. Tyler Courtney second. They seem to be the two guys. You mix in a little Brett Marks, you mix in a little James McFadden, a little bit of Corey Day here and there. But those seem to be like the two guys right now. Seb Wise third, good for him. Anthony Macri went up there, got a top 5. Corey Day from 14th to 7th. Brent went from 22nd to 13th. Mark Smith made the trip up there. Went from 24th to 15th. So there's quite a few posse guys up there. Ryan Newton finished 24th. Dylan Norris finished 25th. I know Danny did not have a good night there, but he was also up there. Any thoughts from this before we move on to Friday? Friday, Utica Rome. Ryan Newton finished 13th. Danny Dietrich 14th. Rico Abreu gets to win, though, with Justin Peck second. And Jace McFadden third. Brett Marks 4th. Tyler Courtney 5th. Brad Sweet 6th. Anthony Macri finishes 11th. And Mark Smith, P20. World of Outlaws, Attica on Friday. Buddy Colford gets to win over Carson Bacido. Bill Balog with a podium finish there. Pretty good. They had big car counts there. They were like in the low to mid 40s. I think both nights. Obviously, they're in Ohio. It's kind of like how PA is, where they just have a lot of locals that come out. So that's good. Landon Crawley with plus 15. And then David Gravel with that 11th place finish. So that should really shake the points up there. I haven't looked at the points. But that's kind of, we're talking 11th place for David Gravel. That's not bad. But for his standards, he's a guy he's top 5 almost every night. And you kind of have to be to, compete for a title. Saturday night, Sharon Speedway, David Gravel goes and gets to win, then kind of makes up for it. Donnie Schatz second, Carson Bacido third. A solid weekend for him. Brock Zierfoss ninth. Looks like Hard Charger was Olga Schuart in fourth. So that was really it from those. Nothing crazy notable. Gravel had to come out of the B on Friday. Attica's always I love Attica. Attica's a great track. I want to get there one day. And that was really it from this past weekend. Trying to think of anything else that we may have missed. I don't think so. Go ahead.
I was just going to mention Silver Crown. That was kind of
Silver Crown. History made, or should we say herstory made. Kaylee Bryson wins the Silver Crown race, first female to win. Good for her. Had to hold off. Blanket on the name. Had to hold off right at the line there.
Jerry Coons Jr. Was it Coons?
No.
No.
Was it Leary?
Oh yeah, CJ Larry. Yeah.
Yeah. Had to hold him off coming to the line, basically. He was charging through the field. But yeah, got the win at Belleville. So that's a big moment in USAC history, right there. Yeah. So let's go into this weekend. Friday night, John Trone Tribute Race, $10,039 to win. Steph says Jade won last year.
She won.
Not the Silver Crown.
She won extreme. So that was the first female USAC Touring Series win. I believe Jade has won Extreme Outlaw stuff. It's not USAC, which
Right.
whatever. But yes, big time. This was his herstory.
There you go.
Absolutely, it's very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. Do we think high rollers will be at the Grove? And we talked about this a little bit before we went on. It is $10,000 to win. They're going to be in the area anyway. They don't have restrictions. I would say you probably see a couple. I could see a guy like Zeb Wise, who's had some good runs there at Williamsgrove. $10,000 to win isn't, it's better than a normal weekly $5,000 to win show for sure. So I would imagine that there's time trials for this.
Yes.
Yes. So I think you see a couple, but probably a Corey Eliason, considering they have Shuttlesworth there as his crew chief and he knows these tracks, probably a good chance for Eliason to come in. Maybe Tyler Courtney, but I don't know. There's a couple guys that will race, but I see maybe, considering Williamsgrove isn't on the high limit schedule, but I mean, if they're going to plan on coming to run National Open and you're already here, $10,000 to win, I could see about 5 of them running.
Yeah, I like that. I think, you could see Zeb, you could see Baston, Jacob.
Jacob
maybe,
probably, yeah.
Maybe Tyler Courtney. Some of those guys. I think there could be a possibility of that for $10,000. Sure.
Yeah. And obviously this graphic brought to you by PA Dirt Track Promotions. Shout out Tony for making this graphic, making it nice and easy to know what's going on this week. Lincoln's running Saturday, the Bob Libby Memorial 410s. Is it street stocks as well with them? Or there won't be 358s there. I think it's just 410s, and I want to say it's like late models and street stocks or something like that. But that'll be running on Saturday. And then the big event this weekend, though, is the Bob Weikert Memorial. Saturday and Sunday, $10,000 to win on Saturday. The big $75,000 to win race on Sunday. The biggest race so far in PA this season. Actually, it might be the biggest paying race in the country this season so far, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think anything paid more than that so far. So it's going to be a big race. Obviously, with the High Limit Series, first time that we're getting to see this version of the High Limit Series, here in PA. I'm excited. I love this weekend so much. It's one of my favorite events outside of the National Open and Tusky 50 week, the Fair Week. This is one I look forward to. It's like it's the official kickoff of summer, because right after this you start getting hit hard. Like it's just so, like, you think there's a lot of racing already, it's gonna hit you hard because you got USAC Eastern Storm coming in, soon. We got PA Speedway coming up. You got Western PA Speedway thrown in there. You got all this other stuff. And then you start getting the month of money in August and September. So
I want to know how you're going to win the campsite contest there, because you're going to be there, have to hold it down. Like, are you going to go costume? Like, you going to go like throwback? You and Kim could go like 70s style, get real hippie with it, like some bell-bottom jeans.
I don't know. So
I couldn't see you wearing bell-bottom jeans. You look ridiculous.
She was off today, and she went and did some shopping, and she said she was passing by Hobby Lobby and saw all these decorations and stuff, and she's like, I almost bought a bunch of stuff but she held off. Maybe we'll do something. I don't know. A couple years ago, it was a Mardi Gras theme. That was pretty hard to compete with.
If I see
maybe
pictures
we'll
of
do
you
something.
and Kim dressed in bell-bottom jeans, I will problem.
Nah, I
Never
don't
talk
think
to
we'd
you
go
again.
that far. I don't think we'd go that far, but maybe we'll do something. I don't know. We'll be there, camped all weekend. Probably plan is to get there Friday, and if I get there early enough and I feel like it, maybe I'll go truck over to Williamsgrove. If not, we got a projector, so maybe I'll hang out at the campsite and watch it on the projector on Dirt Vision. Jimmy would look like Shaggy from Scooby Doo.
Yeah, you would.
If I still had my hair that I just
yeah.
cut,
Look
maybe.
ridiculous.
Finn Liu asks, do you think Outlaws will show up on Sunday? And this has been something that people have been talking about because it is $75,000 to win. It is the biggest race so far of the year in the country in terms of payout. And they are off. They're in Ohio. And then where do they go on Monday? Do they go? They don't still go Lawrenceburg on Monday, do they? They go somewhere on Monday for Memorial Day. But they have Sunday off is the point, and they're not that far off. And it's not that far afterwards. So there's talk of some Outlaws maybe using one of their freebies to come run. I could see a guy like a David Gravel or even a Donnie Schatz, guys that have run Port Royal really well and have won big races there.
I don't think you see any. I think you see exactly zero.
Really?
Yep. They're saving them for other Eldora. There's King's Royal.
Buddy just used one at Kokomo for 20.
He lives there. He's home. That's like that's you know what I mean. That was sentimental. That wasn't money. Yeah, I get the money is big here. I just can't see it. I just don't think it's. I don't know. I'd be happy to be wrong. I'm fine with that. I'm fine to be wrong. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I think if you do, it's like one or two. I don't. Maybe like a Logan would come home for it. Maybe. I don't know. I think it's a lot of driving for them, but if it is any of those, any of the top 6 or 7 Outlaws, man, they got a shot. They got a good shot to come in but you got to compete with, like Austin said, they have such a good roster. High Limit does. They could compete against anybody. It's not just going to be like, hey, an Outlaw could come in and just walk over these guys like you could with the All-Stars a couple years ago. So, so I think that does probably bring them back. Dave Scott Smeltzer says the 3Z. I don't know about that. I don't know if he makes a trip like that. And for how he's ran at Port Royal the past couple of years since he went full-time Outlaw, I don't know about that, but maybe. But it'll be interesting to see who shows up on Sunday. It's going to be a great weekend overall. Weather's, knock on wood, looking really good. Looking at it last weekend, it looked like it was going to be a freaking wash all weekend. Now it's looking like right now, it could be a very beautiful weekend, very dry weekend. I hope I don't jinx it. But get your ass there to Port Royal. This is a great event. They have stuff going on all weekend. There's a concert Friday. There's a post-race concert Saturday. There's a post-race concert Sunday. They got cornhole tournament. Brad Sweet and Kendra Jacobs, I think, are doing like a pre-race, like kind of like a show. So Brad Sweet will be there. A couple other drivers. It's going to be a great event. It's Memorial Day weekend, holiday weekend. You have off Monday. There's no reason not to get there. Definitely get out and support the event and go have a good time. It's just if you can camp for the weekend, there's camping first come first serve. I think it's $35 for a spot for the weekend from Friday through Monday. So definitely go check it out. And then you got Grandview on Tuesday. High Limits going there for a midweek money series, $20K to win at Grandview on Tuesday. So Matthew Bird says, hope it's not a sweet show all weekend. I don't think so. He hasn't run that great at Port Royal. I mean, I think he has a win at Port Royal, but he's not really a guy that I think of when he goes to Port Royal that, he's a guy that's always up front. He's a guy that, especially with the way High Limit format is too, who knows? Like, I think it's going to be tough. You're going to be going against guys like Logan, Chase Dietz in that 1Z, obviously Macri. On top of the High Limit roster, you got Lance DeWeese, who's been, that 12 car has shown speed. If he's able to time well and the way the format is too, every lap matters, right, Jay-Z? Every lap matters. There's passing points and all that. So the format's not just a normal format. It's an exciting format throughout the entire night, and you got to, as Danny said, you got to race your ass off every lap. So it could be anybody. It really can. It's got to be somebody that's going to be on it every lap. Who do you guys see as some favorites heading into this weekend?
I don't know how you pick against Brad Sweet, Tyler Courtney, and Brent Marks right off the top.
I can easily.
Well, I mean, if you're looking at favorites, that would be the three. But the field's so deep. I mean, like you named a bunch there. Tyler Courtney fresh off the win. Brent is obviously good there, and Brad Sweet's good everywhere.
Yeah, I think I'm, this guy hasn't shown it this year yet, but what I saw last year proves to me I'm putting him in that conversation. For me, it's Courtney, Macri, and Zeb Wise. It could be that this could be that weekend where Zeb gets it put together and figured out a little bit. So those are the three that came to mind first, and then it's Brent, Corey Day, and Brad Sweet as my next kind of group there, and they're not far behind. Like Brent, I'm obviously a fan. He led the Tusky last year before he wrecked himself. So like he knows how to get around Port Royal. He's due for a big win there. I know he wants to win this race. They all do, but those are the six for me. And that's crazy that I'm picking six and one of
one of them's not even Rico.
And that's not Rico.
Yeah,
right?
Rico.
Like that's how good this group is. And we didn't talk about Justin Peck, and we didn't talk about, it's not that he's not good there, but he's improved a lot. I look at, and then you got Logan Wagner, you got, Lance DeWeese, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, the field's going to be so deep, man. It's going to be, we named the winner right there. There's 7 people. The winner is in that 7.
We didn't name the winner. I'm going to tell you the winner. Corey Day.
He's going
to get it done.
Corey Day.
What did you say, Corey Day?
In the second.
Corey Day, Brent Marks, and Brad Sweet
group.
In that second group.
So my top 3 is Corey Day, Lance DeWeese, Tyler Courtney. Those are my top 3 favorite. I think and if you want to go second tier, I think Marks and Macri are at the top of the list. I'm not sold on Sweet. I'm really not. I know he's running really well. I haven't seen him from him at Port Royal. And with this format, I think it's going to make it a lot tougher for him. Tyler Koenig says here, just qualifying for the show on Sunday is going to be an accomplishment. I think so. I think you could see, I don't want to say 50 cars, at least 40 to 45 minimum. I wouldn't be surprised with 50. I'm not quite sure you're going to see 50. I would probably put it closer to the 45 range, but you're splitting hairs there with just a couple cars.
Definitely feeling more and more like a Tuscarora 50 tune-up. Or a Tuscarora 50 field.
Brian Brown kind of gave like a hint that he might be coming out. He didn't say for sure, but he did on Twitter the other day kind of like put like the eye emojis on there, kind of thinking about it. So you might see some other type invaders come in for this too. Sorry, Chris.
No, that's all. That's just kind of what thinks with this, with the high limit series and the money there. It kind of feels like the Tuscarora 50 has the last few years.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chris.
No, that's all I had. So
does anything from Saturday affect Sunday?
No.
So because Lincoln runs Saturday.
So
does Freddie come up Sunday?
Freddie usually does for the big port shows.
Right. So I think that Sunday is the day you get, unless somebody tears some shit up Saturday, Lincoln running. Now, there's not many cars that are going to come up from Lincoln. We know that, but you would think Freddie would come up Sunday, right? They haven't done the back-to-backs, though, because I assume Sunday would be the 51. They have to get prepared. The 51 usually stays home when they have the 8. So the travel, and that's why they didn't run at Port Saturday after Friday night being at Grove. They didn't run Port Saturday, knowing Lincoln was canceled because of the travel between the 8 and the 51. So kind of follow that a little bit. So, but I would think for $75,000 up, they figure out how to get it done this weekend.
Isn't it like $1,200 to start too? Like it's not, if you do make the feature, like that's a good payday to start. You know what I mean? Norris, I'm not sure about that. He had a hard time just But I think he would run. I don't know about him as a favorite. I don't know which. But Freddie, Moody, Bollinger, Norris, Billy Dietrich should be coming up Sundays. What Tyler says, I could, that would be.
Troy.
That makes sense.
Troy's not coming.
Which is wild. Come on, guys. 27
From what I heard on Saturday is he's not coming.
Listen, everybody in the chat, 27 to Port Royal. Hefner,
Yes.
27 to Port Royal.
Pressure his ass into going.
Tag them in everything.
They have a lot of shirts to sell.
Yeah,
Yes.
peer pressure's a bitch.
Look at these beautiful shirts. These beautiful shirts that they just came out with, man.
They'll sell out of their merch in that. No, the Freddy's 51 is owned by Freddie. The 8 is owned by someone else. Freddie runs the 8 for Rich Eichelberger, and that's mainly the Williamsgrove and Lincoln deal. If Freddie wants to run some of the BAPs some nights, now he ran in the 8, but you'll see the 51 like Port Royal, some other shows. That is owned by the family. The 51 is family owned. The 8 is not, Steph. But yeah, everybody, Troy to Port, 27 to Port, whatever. Hashtag, Hefner to
Get
Port.
Get your ass to Port, Troy. Get there.
Yeah, sell out those shirts so you can go order more. Okay. I'm hyped for the weekend. I'm excited for it for sure. Can't wait to see it. And here, you know what the bitch of this weekend is? There's some cool racing going on elsewhere. Like
yes, there is.
the 358s out at Big Diamond.
Yep.
What the hell did I see at Path? Or no, where was that? Or BAPS? I forget the show that's going. There's a couple other things I was like, damn, that would be cool to go see. So. There's
Memorial Day weekend. It's
a
you know what I mean? This nice long holiday weekend. It's a big race weekend. I mean, we're talking before. You kind of put it out in the one group chat.
Oh yeah, 358s are at BAPS Saturday.
Really?
Yeah,
of course.
They're that's their time trial show, I believe. That's their big show.
You also got Indy 500, which that's another thing that Port Royal is doing. You're worried about missing the Indy 500. Don't care. Get your ass to Port. They're having a watch party there. So, on top of all the other stuff that they got going on, just to really make it a cool, really good event for the entire weekend. I'm excited. And then Monday, there's always Selinsgrove's not racing Monday.
No,
that's not a
but
thing.
You know what is racing? And I just saw this on my Facebook page. And again, we don't follow this a ton. But did you know STSS is at freaking Kutztown tomorrow?
I did not know that.
The short track Super Series modifieds are at Kutztown tomorrow with the 600s. That would be cool.
Yeah, they were pretty cool when they had modifieds there.
Yeah,
last year.
Yeah. That one car was like the left front was up the whole lap around, the whole lap. I don't know if it was fast, but he did it, I remember watching that or highlights of it. But, yeah, there's just so much cool racing this weekend. Listen, you don't have to be at Port Royal. Chris isn't even going to watch anything because he's not much of a fan anymore. But there's racing everywhere. Go watch a race somewhere this weekend.
Yes.
Go get to a track.
Get to a track, preferably Port Royal. You'll have the most fun there. But get to any racetrack, anywhere that you're at. It's going to be a beautiful weekend, holiday weekend, celebrate America. It's the way to do it.
All right.
If anybody is there at Port Royal this weekend, hit up the T2T page. I'm going to be camping there all weekend. We'll cook up some food. We'll hang out, have a beer. Let us know. And then, I'm excited, man. I'm so stoked for this weekend.
Same.
Chris,
what do we got left?
Says.
Please, more free time.
No,
your free time is for racing, Chris. This isn't a job. Remember, we pay.
Yes,
we're fans. We're race fans. Free time. Your free time is to go racing.
Your free time is racing.
I'm not free this weekend.
Speaking of fired, no Rowan podcast this weekend. So,
also speaking of fired,
hashtag
be here next week.
No, not canceled. Just kidding.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of fired, we will not have a show next week. Maybe we'll do like a quick video or something to recap the Weikert, depending on how everything goes. But we're going to take the holiday next Monday. We won't have a show. Sorry. But just keep an eye out. We'll try to put some stuff up throughout the week. And like I said, if you guys are there this weekend at Port Royal, Friday through Monday, let us know. We'll hang out. And so basically we won't see you guys until 2 Mondays from now.
Might do a pit walk. Might do
Yeah,
a
well,
live.
That's
you
what I'm
know.
thinking. I think a pit
Yeah.
walk maybe on Saturday or Sunday, probably Sunday. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, sorry, Steph. I know, but hey, go enjoy Memorial Day. It's a holiday.
Yeah, Monday's our free time. Okay.
Yeah. Prayers out for Austin Reed. We were talking about this before we do go. Oh, I drink it to dump it too.
Drink it or dump it. So just let's.
Yeah. So prayers out for Austin Reed. He had a wicked wreck leading at Hagerstown. I guess did you say Jay-Z he had a tree go through his hand, like a tree branch go through his
branch
hand?
went through his hand. Yeah.
That's
so check
wild.
out Austin Reed's socials. Family's kind of been updating a little. Listen, if they get cleared by the surgeon, they're trying to be at Williamsgrove Friday night race.
That's wild.
He's trying to race his 305 Friday night. So, lucky for sure the way that accident. That video is on YouTube, by the way. Find Austin Reed's socials. There's a link to a YouTube video with that crash at Hagerstown this past week. It was big. It was big.
Let's go drink it or dump it. Who wants to go first? I can go first.
You go first.
Damn, I don't like going first.
You want me to go first?
Yeah,
You
go
think
ahead.
about it? All right. My drink is Kaylee Bryson and Women of Racing. That is a big moment for sure. We're in a really good era right now for women drivers and women in racing. Jade Avedissian, what she's doing right now in the racing world, and Kaylee Bryson, and there's so many more. There's so many more. So shout out to that. That's a big moment in history there. Dump it this weekend is it for me. And I don't want to take everyone else's and they may overlap a little bit, but Justin Whittall, glad he's okay, man. That's scary. Another scary one for sure. Austin Reed, just what we talked about there. Hate seeing anybody get banged up. I'm glad Samuel Miller's okay. Dump it for that whole deal there. There was a lot of big wrecks this weekend. And, based on everything that thankfully our guys are safe, we feels like this always goes in like runs of these big ones. And this weekend was a lot of big wrecks. So thankfully, Knoxville, Justin Henderson, huge one down the front stretch. Thankfully, he's okay.
He was ready to fight.
Very much ready to fight. So, listen, they're fighting in the NASCAR pits over getting nosed into the wall, right? A bunch of pussies. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Okay, relax. But thankfully all these guys are okay. A lot of torn up equipment, and thankfully everybody's okay there. Also, if you haven't seen on social media, try to find it. There's for Eric Rutz. I know Chris is close with them. There's some stickers being sold, kind of help out the family a little bit. Hit up Elite Racing Imagery with Tim and Gary. They kind of put that together to get some stickers. I got my winged Super Sportsman sticker this weekend. I might pick up a wingless next weekend. They got wing and wingless for Eric. So just kind of working that out, but that's all I have. Whoever's next.
I will do a drink it to and he's in the chat, Brett Perigo and his dad. So Brett finished third on Friday night at Big Diamond. They had a 3.5 hour drive from Big Diamond to get home. Brett then got up, unloaded his car, loaded his dad's wing 410, and they drove all the way out to Kentucky to run with Boss. So, just wild. And he had a good run on. He was one of the few that survived, and that was going to be my dump. It is just that wingless sportsman division had a lot of torn up race cars. Just hope everybody's okay and they could get the cars back out on the track and they didn't do too much damage. I will also do a drink it. I'm going to steal it from Chris Noel here. Shout out Kyle Larson. I was in awe yesterday of watching, at home, of him watching what he did at the Indy 500 qualifying. And then, he was a factor to win the All-Star race. And he didn't get a lap in that car on the new surface, anything, and got out there. Just goes to show. I know I'm a Larson fanboy, but that was really, really impressive. And then dump it also to Justin Whittall. Just glad to hear that he's just right now sore and that everything's okay because that was a really, really scary wreck. Go ahead, Chris.
Drinking, I'll just go with the Lucas Wolf in that battle Friday night with him and Freddie and Troy. It was a good battle, and when Lucas Wolf wins, it's a good thing. Dump it for anyone that was there. There was a dude trying to catch a football in the infield who cleaned out a trash can in between the two features. Dump it out for that buddy because he got truck sticked by a trash can. It was hilarious.
Side note, the Paragos. If you're watching this show, and again, there's like 4 of you, but if you're watching this show and you want to be a fan of racers, you become a fan of the Paragos. Okay. Absolutely. We like these guys. We're fans. We're friends. But what they just did this past weekend is what all these guys on social media go, that's a race car. That's a race team. That's how it's done. You become a fan of the Paragos because these freaking guys, wingless sportsmen and feature in the middle of fucking nowhere to drive to the middle of other county of middle of nowhere across the freaking halfway across the
Lawrence, Kentucky
time zone overnight to go run a ball series race in Paducah. Where were they?
Florence, Kentucky.
Okay. That place looked like it looked like someone's backyard, the picture I saw from the front stretch. So came down like 3 and 4 down a hill. Like, listen, man, those guys are racers. If you want to root for some racers, the Parago family, I don't care. Pick one of the 9 or 12 or 15 of them that are racing. They're all
winners.
Those guys are the definition of racers, man. So shout out those guys. They're grueling. I bitch about an hour and a half drive home in the dark in Port Royal after an energy drink. These guys are just on the road for freaking 3 days. Like, insanity, right? So they're doing a lot with a little. They kick ass. I'm proud of those guys for sure.
100%. That's it. Anybody? Brad Weatherby says, drink it to Asta Bishop, Whittle, and all the emergency crews that were working their asses off. Yes, shout out to them. Brandon Zerk, drink it to Rico, first one of the year. Yeah, I think so. It did take a while. Tyler says Paragos and the Buckwalters racing families. 100% Buckwalters for sure. And then let me read the Matthew Bird says, drink it to Grove, Port, and Baps for 3 amazing shows this weekend. Yes, shout out to them for sure. And then Christopher Noel, let me read the rest of his. Kaylee Bryson, first female Quick Time Award and first female in the USAC National Series. Kyle Larson qualifying 5th and first rookie qualifying in the top 6. That's really it. And then, Tyler says, drink it for Kaylee Bryson. Huge moment for the sport, 100%. And then Brett says, it's always a good time with Jacob Allen wins. Cheers to him. And RIP Dave Eash and Barefoot Bob, says Randy Cobb. Did lose 2 in the racing community this past week. Thoughts and prayers to their families. So, anything else before we go?
No, I can't possibly talk about anything else. We're done.
No,
you're good.
I think we tried to cover everything. Thanks a lot, guys. We will not see you next weekend. We'll not see you next Monday. But come see us at the racetrack, Port Royal, this weekend. And then we'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Don't steal our banner this time, please.
Don't steal the banner. Thanks.
I won't see any of you. Happy trails.
All right.
Chris, calm down.